This is the main point. Are there distinct? There definitely used to be, right? If you distinct cultural regions. So wherever you want to draw the lines around these regions, let's say broadly, there's the West, there's the Midwest, there's the South, there's the Northeast. Are there today in 2025, with the internet age, meaningful cultural distinctions between these regions, such that if the U.S. broke up into different countries, you could say, hey, the Midwest is its unique culture. The Southwest or the Mountain West is its unique culture. The Deep South is its unique culture. 100 years ago, you could absolutely say that, right? Somebody living in the Deep South has a different culture and a different even worldview than somebody living in the Northeast, right?
For sure. I mean, I believe there was a war about that.
There was a fucking whole war about it.
Yeah.
But today with the internet age, mass communication, popular culture, accents are starting to kind of fall away. Cultural distinctions are kind of falling away. And so I'm wondering if, as the way to wrap up this conversation, if you think there are material or significant differences in people's lived experiences and cultural expressions in these different regions anymore.
Honestly, you know what I think is sad? Is that I think now, especially with the internetization, more social mediaization or whatever you want to call it, but like I think now people align stronger with views than with lived experience and region. Like I think people, they feel more communal or a part of something if you share the same political or sociological views rather than just like, my families and generations kind of worked here. We kind of do things this way. And, we're not even talking about, what do you call it, a soda, a pop, or a Coke, or like not stuff like that, but deeper stuff about like if you're born in a place, do your aspirations change? Do you, just all those things like that. And I think now, again, with this widespread of just people's thoughts and the unfortunate exposure to a lot of people's thoughts and over and over and over again, stuff like that, like what your views are, where you align, is a stronger bond than your lived place.
I think you're 100% right, and I actually kind of rue the idea that accents will go away and cultural distinctions will go away because that's like the diversity of life. But if this is happening on a national scale, it's more slowly happening. But if the trajectories keep up on a global scale, where global culture, first you start within countries, right? Like, to be a Californian and a New Yorker, there's still some differences even today.
I'm walking here.
Yeah, I'm walking here.
I'm surfing here.
I'm surfing here. There's some differences. Deep South, but those differences seem to be being wrinkled out. I think you're right. Internet culture and political tribe becomes more and more important as opposed to local community, which I think has plenty of downsides, but is also part of this globalizing effect on the entire world. And if you go on a bigger time scale, it could be happening globally, right? Think of 300 years in the future where culture is now global, communication is totally global, travel is even more seamlessly global, right? Languages might start disappearing. I mean, a lot of depictions of the future, I think it was, The Expanse, a sci-fi about several centuries into the future. There's one language on Earth, and it's a mixture of Chinese and English, right? Because those two dominant cultures were dominant at a time when globalization occurred. A lot of to be in the global conversation meant, even like English has already meant this for the last 100 years. Like, to be in the global conversation means having to kind of engage with these languages. And so if you take that trajectory out, U.S. and China continue to be superpowers at a time with massive globalization in the internet age. That's when those two languages get locked in as humanity's language. And so it's this interesting dialect mixing the two in character, like written form, and in the way people speak.
Right. It's funny you brought that up because I literally just looked at a thing that showed what people were like the most like searched or used language for Duolingo, like all across the world. And it's like I knew there'd be a lot of English. It was fucking a huge amount. Like an insane amount that was English. You're like, man, I English, Spanish. Yeah. Which is funny because then in America, I mean, it just looks funny. Obviously, English, but it's just, then you see Spanish in America. But it's like all across, like even in huge swaths of like Africa and just in Asia and stuff, like English is the,
Because if you're trying to move up in the global system,
right,
you got to engage with the English language, learn it. Right, if you're going to be like a business person or a professional or whatever, so that's been the case for a long time. But as American hegemony declines, and Chinese hegemony or regional hegemony or power in general begins to continues to rise, especially first regionally and then perhaps globally, people will start having to speak in
Mandarin.
Mandarin. And even the currency, right? The U.S. currency is the reserve currency of the world. So people speak in English language. They operate across international lines with American currency. You know, that could be coming kind of to an end, or maybe it's not a total end, but it's like instead of one obvious hegemon, there's two or three, you know, poles of power, and then things are kind of divided up between them. But the overall point is, are we moving toward a planetary culture, a planetary species? It seems like the long march of human history from fucking warring tribes who, you know, that tribe lives across the river and we fight them to the death when they come on our territory, up to nation states where we have nuclear power, and if you fuck with our borders, we're going to bomb you. The circle of community of what is part of your tribe gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And with globalization and globalized communications, it seems on a long enough trajectory that we are heading to a global tribe, a planetary identity. Right?
Man, I'll tell you what, as dark as this isn't even being hyperbolic, I think Earth will be destroyed basically before we get to that. Because I think it would take a long time. Like, we've made some strides, and I know like future stuff is always exponential. Yeah. Like, it always, like, just like technology and the way things change. However, I don't know, just for how different. Like, I think a lot of people super forget how different. You know, I was even talking with people, like, you talk about life a lot in recovery, and you talk about, like, meaning and purpose and stuff, and even then, you know, it's so different. These huge sort of things, like, are so different in most of the world, by the way, too. Uh-huh. Like, just like the reality you live in, the idea, you know, how you look at even God and spirituality and these huge, like, metaphysical things are all still part of a certain view that you have. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it's almost impossible to try to, like, excise that and, like, to adopt a completely different view. Like, I don't know. I think.
So what are you saying, that you don't think that globalization process is going to ultimately play out fully?
I think it could happen, but I think it would take. I mean, I think we'll start having, like, super Earth problems before that occurs.
Okay.